Hi everyone, welcome to episode 4 of the Sound Mind podcast, where we dive into the fascinating world of music psychology. I'm your host, Sophia, and as a music psychologist, I'll be guiding you through everything you've ever wanted to know about music. So whether you're a music lover or just interested in the science of sound, you're in the right place, so I hope you stick with us. In today's episode, we're diving into the science behind music and identity to find out whether your favourite songs really reflect who you are. So what if I told you that your music library could reveal more about your personality than you think? Would you believe me? Well, according to research, it actually might. We make all kinds of assumptions about people based on their music taste, whether it's personality traits, compatibility, or even intelligence. But how much of it is actually true? Let's get into it. Now, music is more than just sound. It's a reflection of who we are. Think about your all-time favorite song. Why do you love it? Maybe it reminds you of a specific memory. Maybe the lyrics feel like they were written just for you. Or maybe it just feels right in a way that's hard to explain. But why do we get so emotionally attached to music? And what makes it such a strong part of our identity? Well, psychology has a few answers. But before diving into the psychology behind it, I want to clarify the definition of two terms: musical preference versus musical taste. Now, musical preference has been defined as a person's liking for one piece of music as compared with another at a given point in time, whilst musical taste is held to reflect the overall patterning of an individual's preferences over longer time periods. So, in short, musical preference can change, for example, on a daily basis, whereas one's taste is likely to be more consistent over time. Just keep those definitions in mind for later on. But now we've established that, let's get into why we identify so strongly with music. First, there's something called social identity theory, and this is the idea that we define ourselves based on the groups that we belong to, whether that's our culture, our hobbies, or even the music we listen to. Music plays a huge role in this because our music taste is often tied to belonging, self-categorization, and group identity. Think about it, music isn't just something we enjoy, it is a way that we express ourselves. And that's why people so proudly wear band merch, argue over music genres online, or even judge someone based on their Spotify Wrapped. We see music as an extension of who we are, and that's powerful. If someone says they're a Swiftie, a metalhead, or a hip-hop fan, you probably already have a certain image of them in your head. And that's because music taste is often tied to personality, lifestyle, and even social circles. It isn't even just about personal taste, it's about group belonging, social judgment, and identity. Social identity theory suggests that we categorize people into in-groups, which is the us, and out-groups, which is them. Music taste is a common way people form these group identities. Think of genres like punk, metal, hip-hop, indie, or K-pop. Each has its own subculture. If you're a metalhead, you might feel an instant connection with other metal fans, but might distance yourself from pop lovers. And similarly, K-pop stans form tight-knit online communities that revolve around their favorite artists. Another example are the snap judgments that we make on music taste based on these principles. Have you ever met someone and thought, oh, they listen to that? We probably wouldn't get along. Research shows that people do make these judgments about others based on music taste, whether it's assuming classical music lovers are sophisticated or stuck up, or that rap fans are rebellious, and this can really impact social relationships. I touched on this in the previous episode on how music can impact our romantic relationships, and music taste is a large part of how we might choose a romantic partner. So you might not even pursue a connection with someone based on their music taste, and that's a huge factor. And this goes for all types of social relationships, not just romantic ones. It often may be a case that you might just not pursue a connection with someone based on this assumption that you won't get along because you don't have the same taste in music, and therefore you miss out on that potential connection. Music is such an accessible and personal form of expression that it's so easy to jump to conclusions based on that. Also, some people may hide their love for a certain artist because it doesn't fit their social identity. For example, a rock fan might secretly love Taylor Swift, but not admit it because it doesn't align with their group's identity. And this shows how music isn't just personal, it's socially constructed and influenced by how we want to be perceived. Overall, music taste helps us define who we are and where we belong, creating these strong in group versus out group distinctions. Music defines and strengthens group identity by creating shared symbols, traditions, and belonging. For example, national anthems unite people under a shared cultural identity, while football fans unite through chants and sport anthems. And even those who grew up in the same era with the same music share a sense of generational nostalgia, having love for the same music and artists. Music also serves as a form of social expression, allowing people to express their values and beliefs. Hip hop, for example, has been a voice for marginalized communities, addressing issues like racism and police brutality, whilst rock and punk have historically symbolized rebellion and anti establishment views. You also have religious and spiritual identities, strengthened by gospel and choral music in the church. Now, because music is so tied to identity, we take our music taste personally. Have you ever felt weirdly offended when someone says that they don't like your favorite artist? Or maybe you've had that feeling of pride when someone compliments your playlist. That's because music feels like an extension of us. Psychologists call this identity fusion, when something becomes so intertwined with our sense of self that we see attacks on it as attacks on us. So, if someone disrespects your favorite band, it might feel like they're disrespecting you. And this is also why we tend to surround ourselves with people who have similar music tastes. Shared music preferences create a sense of belonging, and that's something that we as humans naturally crave. But our connection to music isn't just about identity, it's also about psychological needs. That's where something called self-determination theory comes in. Self-determination theory is a psychological framework that explains what makes us feel motivated and fulfilled. It says that humans have 3 core needs: autonomy, competence, and relatedness. Autonomy is the need to feel in control of our choices, competence is the need to feel skilled or capable, whilst relatedness is the need to connect with others. And music? It plays a role in all 3 of these needs. So, first let's talk about autonomy. It's that need to make our own choices and express who we are. And music plays a huge role in this because we use it to define our identity and curate our own world. An example of this is creating a personalized playlist. When you make a playlist for a certain mood or event, you're asserting control over your environment. On a wider level, we tend to choose music that aligns with our personal values, which is another example of how we achieve these feelings of autonomy. But one interesting and relatively new one is what can be dubbed as the Spotify Wrapped effect. When Spotify Wrapped comes out, people proudly share their top artists and other elements because it feels like a statement of who they are. Even if someone listens to guilty pleasures, they might hide certain artists from their public persona because their music taste reflects their identity. Overall, music helps us express ourselves and take ownership of our individuality, fulfilling our need for autonomy. Now, onto our need for competence, which is our need to feel capable and accomplished. Music can give us a sense of mastery, whether it's through playing, analyzing, or curating it. When someone picks up the guitar or piano, for example, they experience a sense of achievement as they improve, or writing a song from scratch builds confidence and reinforces self-worth. But even if you don't play music, some people, for example, take pride in knowing underground artists before they go mainstream. Others love being the go-to person for music recommendations among friends. They're dubbed the music expert, and this expertise provides a sense of competence as they feel skilled in their ability to discover and analyze music. Music fans often enjoy analyzing lyrics, discussing production techniques, or even breaking down the emotional impact of a song. This intellectual engagement strengthens a feeling of competence as they're actively developing knowledge and insight. Now that we're talking about it, this whole element is definitely me. Everything I do is music related, and I don't try to hide that. I mean, I'm sat here talking to you guys about stuff that you've probably never thought about before with music. I've definitely exposed myself. But anyway, whether through playing, curating, or analysing music, engaging deeply with it gives us a sense of mastery and competence. And finally, we move on to the component of relatedness, which is our need to connect with others. And music is one of the most powerful social bonding tools. Music serves as a social glue, bringing people together in ways that few other things can. Think about the magic of concerts and festivals. Singing along with thousands of strangers, all united by the same melodies, it creates an electrifying sense of belonging. It's a shared emotional experience that makes you feel part of something bigger. On a more personal level, discovering someone that loves the same artist as you can instantly strengthen a bond. It's why we make playlists for our partners, send friends new song recommendations, or even judge people based on their music taste. Music also provides emotional support. Songs with deeply personal lyrics can make us feel understood, even when no one else seems to get what we're going through. Whether it's a breakup playlist, a song that saved your life, or just a nostalgic tune that takes you back to a meaningful moment, music reassures us that our emotions are universal. And ultimately, music fosters relationships, building this sense of belonging and deepening our connection to both people and emotions. Music also connects to our inner identity, how we see ourselves on a deeper level. Researchers have found that we often choose songs that match our current mood or reflect the way that we want to feel, and this is called mood congruency. When we're sad, we might put on a melancholic playlist, not necessarily to make ourselves feel worse, but to process emotions in a way that feels validating. And when we're happy, we want music that amplifies that feeling. But it goes even further. Music can actually shape the way that we perceive ourselves. Studies suggest that when people listen to certain types of music, they temporarily take on the emotional and psychological traits associated with that genre. So, if you're listening to powerful, high energy rap music, you might start to feel more confident. And if you're playing soft acoustic ballads, you might feel more introspective. So, music doesn't just impact our holistic identity, it can also unlock more versions of ourselves when we need them, which I think is the most fun part and what makes music so special. Now, before we move on to the research on music and personality, I want to talk about one last thing: the role of nostalgia in identifying with music. Nostalgia is one of the reasons why music feels so personal. We don't just like songs because they sound good. We like them because they mean something to us. A song from your teenage years might bring back memories of late night drives, friendships, or even heartbreaks. And that's because music is closely linked to memory, especially in our formative years. There's actually a psychological phenomenon called the reminiscence bump, which I spoke about in our first episode of Why We Love Music. But this suggests that the music we listen to during the ages of 10 to 30 sticks with us the most. And that's why older generations always insist that music was better back in their day. It's not just nostalgia, it's science. Of course, we're going to prefer music that holds personal meaning. So, before you judge someone's music taste, stop to think about what it might mean to them. Now that we've explored the connection between music and identity, let's dive into what the research says about how your music taste is connected to your personality. It turns out that science has a lot to say about this, and there are studies that back up the idea that the music we choose to listen to is more than just about taste. It's a reflection of who we are at our core. The most well-known framework for understanding personality in research is the Big Five personality traits, which include openness, conscientiousness, extroversion, agreeableness, and neuroticism. Psychologists Jason Renfro and Sam Gosling conducted one of the most well-known studies on this topic, showing that personality traits based on the Big Five model do correlate with musical tastes. So let's break down what types of music correlate with each. Let's start with openness to experience. People who score high in openness are typically imaginative, curious, and open minded. They tend to enjoy complex and unconventional experiences, whether that's in their interests, their work, or, of course, their music. One study found that those with high openness tend to gravitate towards genres that are unpredictable and non mainstream, which provide new and varied emotional experiences. If you love the intricate layers of a jazz composition or the dramatic shifts in classical music, it might be because you value intellectual stimulation and novelty. Now let's move on to conscientiousness. This is all about being organized, responsible, and detail-oriented. These individuals are disciplined, hardworking, and prefer structured environments. Those who score high in conscientiousness tend to enjoy pop, country, or traditional music, genres that are easy to follow and have more predictable patterns. Research shows that conscientious people are drawn to music that reflects a sense of structure, order, and reliability. Their music preferences are often predictable, which mirrors their orderly, rule-abiding nature. The next trait is extroversion. Extroverts are sociable, outgoing, and thrive in social settings. They're energized by interactions with others and seek stimulating environments. Extroverts tend to love high-energy music, such as dance, pop, or electronic music. Think anything that has a fast tempo and gets the adrenaline flowing. Extroverts are more likely to enjoy music that is upbeat and exciting because it enhances their energetic nature. They prefer songs that get them in the mood for socializing or dancing. One study found that extroverts are attracted to music that gives them a sense of activation, so a good bass drop or a catchy chorus that can instantly elevate their mood. Now, before we get into the final two Big Five traits, I just want to take a moment to say, if you're enjoying this episode, it would mean the world if you could rate the podcast or leave a quick review wherever you're listening. It really makes a big difference in helping the Sound Mind reach more like-minded listeners just like you. Thank you so much for your support, and with that being said, let's get on to the next one. Moving on to agreeableness. Now, agreeable people are warm, compassionate, and cooperative. They prioritize harmony and are often empathetic towards other people. People who score high in agreeableness tend to favor soft rock, R&B, or acoustic music, genres that evoke warmth and emotional connection. Research indicates that agreeable people are more likely to be drawn to music that is emotionally expressive and melodic, mirroring their nurturing and empathetic personalities. They might appreciate the sincerity in folk or the smooth rhythms of soul and R&B, genres that offer emotional depth and connection. And finishing off with neuroticism, and this refers to the tendency to experience negative emotions such as anxiety, sadness, and frustration. People scoring high in neuroticism tend to be more emotionally reactive and sensitive to stress. They're often attracted to sad, melancholic music. Think along the lines of blues, ballads, or indie folk. It might sound counterintuitive, but research shows that people who experience high levels of neuroticism are drawn to music that mirrors their emotional states, such as music that is slow or introspective. It seems that listening to music that expresses similar emotions to what they're feeling can help them process those emotions and feel understood. In fact, one study found that these individuals often find comfort in music that allows them to express or explore their negative feelings. Now, of course, I want to highlight here that these are not feelings that are exclusive to people that score high in neuroticism. These are emotions and experiences that we all have at some point. And just like I touched on in the previous episode around heartbreak anthems and our enjoyment of sad music, these are all things that we engage with at some point in order to comfort ourselves and feel like we are going through something that is a universal experience. So just to highlight there that it's not necessarily just linked to personality, but is something that's more linked to the emotions that they're feeling. Now, there's also the question of whether people are drawn to particular music genres like rap or jazz, or to certain musical properties such as lively rhythms or soft melodies. Now, this relates to the idea that music genres are becoming an outdated way of categorizing music. Music is so dynamic and doesn't necessarily need to fit into a box of preconceived notions of a genre. There's different musical characteristics that may exist across genres, and this could be a really great way to measure different elements of music. Now, Renfrew and colleagues suggest that musical preferences can be conceptualized into five different dimensions that exceed these boundaries of genres alone. And these are mellow, unpretentious, sophisticated, intense, and contemporary, conveniently forming the MUSIC acronym model. And this model helps to explain how personality traits, cognitive styles, and emotional tendencies influence music taste. Each of these dimensions represents a broad set of musical characteristics rather than just specific genres. So let's break them down. The M of the music model stands for mellow music, and this is soothing, warm, and emotional music. Think of songs that make you want to relax and reflect. It might be associated with genres such as soft rock, R&B, or jazz. Now, I know I mentioned kind of abolishing using genres as a categorization, but I think it's so naturally built into us that it's kind of a good way to just be able to picture the type of music that's described here. But this type of music tends to feature slow tempos, smooth melodies, soft dynamics, and expressive instrumentation like pianos, saxophones, and acoustic guitars. Lyrically, mellow songs often explore love, nostalgia, or introspection, reinforcing their calming effect. This type of music attracts people who are emotionally sensitive, empathetic, and introspective, aligning with traits such as high openness and high agreeableness. Listeners often use mellow music for stress relief, emotional expression, or relaxation, making it ideal for winding down after a long day. Moving on to U, unpretentious music. Now, this is simple, direct, and relatable, often associated with genres such as folk, country, or acoustic pop. It emphasizes straightforward melodies, familiar chord progressions, and storytelling lyrics, often accompanied by acoustic guitars, pianos, or very minimal production. The themes tend to revolve around love, everyday life, and personal experiences, making the music feel genuine and heartfelt. It appeals to those who value tradition, sincerity, and storytelling, typically correlating with high conscientiousness and high agreeableness of the Big Five. Fans of unpretentious music often prefer familiarity over complexity, gravitating towards songs that feel comforting, nostalgic, and emotionally grounding. Now, moving on to the third dimension of the music model, which is sophisticated music. Sophisticated music is complex and intellectually engaging. Think genres like classical, jazz, and world music. These styles often feature unconventional harmonies, intricate compositions, dynamic structures, and rich instrumentation, which really challenge the listener's ear with their nuance and depth. Fans of sophisticated music tend to be high in openness to experience, as they enjoy intellectual stimulation, cultural diversity, and artistic complexity. They're often detail-oriented, introspective, and curious, appreciating the technical skill and emotional depth that sophisticated music offers. Now moving on to the next dimension of intense music, which is loud, energetic, and rebellious. Think rock, metal, or punk. It's defined by fast tempos, distorted guitars, heavy drum beats, and emotionally charged or aggressive lyrics. The intensity can come from the raw emotion in the vocals, the relentless energy of the instrumentals, or even the confrontational nature of the lyrics. This type of music attracts people who seek excitement, emotional release, or catharsis, often correlating with high openness to experience and high neuroticism. Fans of intense music may use it as an outlet for frustration, passion, or even empowerment, as it often provides a sense of defiance and self-expression. So let's finish up the music model with contemporary music, which is rhythmic, catchy, and upbeat, like pop, hip hop, and electronic dance music. It's categorized by strong beats, repetitive hooks, electronic production, and danceable rhythms, often designed for immediate enjoyment and social engagement. Many contemporary songs are built around catchy choruses, relatable themes, and high energy instrumentation, making them easy to sing along or dance to. This type of music resonates with extroverted individuals who enjoy music as a social experience, correlating with high extroversion and high agreeableness. Whether at a party, a concert, or a club, contemporary music really thrives in social settings, making it a go-to choice for those who love sharing music with friends and being part of that communal experience. So, like I said, what's really fascinating about this model is that it shifts the focus from rigid genre labels to underlying musical qualities. Someone might love both classical music and heavy metal, not because they're opposites, but because they both share elements of intensity and emotional depth. So, rather than asking, what's your favorite genre, a better question might be, what do you look for in music? Is it energy, complexity, emotion? The music model suggests that our preferences are not just about what we listen to, but why we listen in the first place. But this all begs the question, is music just a mirror of your personality, or can it also shape your personality? Well, research suggests that it's a bit of both. While our musical preferences often reflect who we are at a given moment, coming back to those distinctions I mentioned in the beginning, listening to certain types of music over time can influence our personality and so our musical taste. For instance, someone who listens to uplifting pop music might feel more optimistic, or someone who regularly enjoys sad ballads might become more introspective and in touch with their emotions. Music, in a sense, acts like a form of emotional shaping, guiding and molding our mood, our self image, and even the way we interact with the world. But here's another key insight: our musical taste isn't just a static reflection of who we are, nor is it shaped in isolation. A study conducted actually by one of my lecturers at university, Alinka Greasley, shout out to you. But this shows that people typically enjoy a wide range of styles, rather than sticking to just one genre. This challenges the old stereotype that someone who loves rock only listens to rock, or that classical music fans would never touch hip hop. In reality, most of us are musical omnivores, open to different genres depending on our mood, context, or social setting. And in today's streaming and internet era, our access to music is more vast and immediate than ever before. Platforms like Spotify, Apple Music, and YouTube make it more easier than ever to discover new genres, cultures, and styles, sometimes without even meaning to. Algorithms introduce us to songs that we might never have actively searched for, and social media trends expose us to viral hits across genres. This exposure inevitably broadens our preferences, expands our musical identities, and even reshapes our perception of what we enjoy. So, while music is a deeply personal and psychological experience, it's also dynamic, ever changing, and socially influenced. What we listen to today might not be what we connect with 5 years from now, and that's what makes musical taste so fascinating. It's not just a reflection of who we are, it's an active part of our self-development. Now that we've covered the science behind music and personality, I wanted to talk about something a little more fun and maybe more controversial: stereotypes. We've all heard them, right? The idea that certain music genres are linked to certain personality types, lifestyles, or even moral values. But how much of this is actually true? Are we really defined by the music we listen to, or is it all just one big stereotype? First off, let's explore some of the common stereotypes we see when it comes to music and personality. Think about the typical assumptions that people make about music lovers. So, rock music fans are rebellious, anti establishment, or maybe even a bit aggressive. Then you have classical music lovers that are sophisticated, intellectual, and refined, maybe even a bit snobby. Hip hop fans are seen as tough, street smart, and maybe even a little bit intimidating. Pop music fans are fun, carefree, and maybe not too deep. And then you have country music fans that are often stereotyped as conservative, traditional, and perhaps a little nostalgic. We've all been there, hearing someone's playlist and then immediately jumping to a judgment. But let's take a step back and challenge these stereotypes. Research suggests that while music can reflect certain aspects of our personality, the idea that we can neatly categorize people based on their music tastes is actually a lot more complex. So, for one, personality is fluid. One of the biggest takeaways from the research we've covered so far is that personality isn't static. Sure, you might love pop music one year, but the next you could really be into classical or jazz. Our musical preferences change over time as we grow, experience new things, and change the way that we see the world. The idea that someone is locked into a specific personality based on their music preference simply doesn't hold up in real life. Music is also multidimensional. People's music preferences are often much more multifaceted than stereotypes allow. Like we said before, sure, a heavy metal fan might be energetic and love intensity, but that doesn't mean that they don't also enjoy listening to acoustic ballads when they want to unwind. Just because someone listens to a certain genre or type of music, it doesn't mean their entire personality can be defined by it. The way we engage with music isn't always about fitting into one mold. It can be a mix of different experiences and emotions, and that's what makes it so magical. But overall, personal identity is so much more complex than this. Another point to consider is that music isn't the only factor in shaping someone's identity. People are influenced by so many other elements: culture, upbringing, life experiences, and these days, even social media. So while your taste in music may shape the way you see the world, it's just one small part of a much larger puzzle. For example, a person who enjoys country music might not necessarily be conservative. They might just love the storytelling aspect of the genre, or maybe they grew up in a region where country music was popular. Music is about emotional resonance and connection, not just about labels. And we're seeing this play out on a larger scale in the music industry itself. Genre boundaries are becoming more fluid, with artists refusing to be confined to a single musical identity. Take Post Malone and Beyoncé, for example, two artists whose careers were built in hip-hop and R&B, yet both have now embraced country music in their latest projects. A few years ago, this might have seemed unexpected, but today it's part of a growing trend. Artists are breaking out of traditional genre boxes, experimenting with new sounds, and in doing so, reshaping audience expectations. But these genre crossovers aren't just about artistic exploration. They also reflect the way that audiences are evolving. Streaming platforms and social media have made it easier than ever for people to explore a variety of sounds, leading to more diverse, genre-blending tastes. As a result, artists have the freedom to push musical boundaries without alienating their fans. In fact, these shifts often allow them to reach new audiences and connect with listeners in ways that would not have been possible in a more rigid music industry. I definitely would not call myself a country fan, but I was digging Post Malone's I Had Some Help, okay? I was singing that every single day. And this just shows that while music is deeply tied to identity, it's also dynamic and ever-changing for both listeners and artists alike. The genres that we associate with ourselves today might not be the same ones that we gravitate towards in the future, and that's the beauty of music. It grows with us. And that idea is amazing. But let's be real, music stereotypes do play a role in how we perceive others, sometimes leading to biases. A dangerous example of this that comes to mind is when I think about true crime cases, where stereotypes about music are used to frame perpetrators. For example, we see in the media things like, they listen to metal, so that shows where their aggression stemmed from. And this assumption reduces someone's entire identity down to their music taste, ignoring the complex factors that contribute to a person's actions and behavior. When we start labeling people based on their musical tastes, we risk oversimplifying their identities and missing out on the deeper nuances that make them who they are. And we're also contributing to this harmful narrative that can then be put on someone else based on characteristics that may not influence their personality at all. This is especially harmful when we base important decisions like who we hang out with, hire, or judge on shallow assumptions like these. At the end of the day, music is a reflection of our emotions and experiences, and those can change and evolve. People are multidimensional, and so are their music preferences. Rather than trying to fit people into neat little boxes based on their favorite tunes, let's embrace the diversity in our music tastes and in our personalities. After all, that's what makes us all unique and interesting. So, the next time someone's playing thrash metal on the speakers or blasting classical in the car, remember that it's just one piece of their complex and evolving identity. And who knows, you might discover something new about them and about yourself by being open to different kinds of music. So, to sum it all up, music isn't just entertainment, it's much more than that. It's a reflection of our identity, emotions, and our memories. It fulfills psychological needs, helps us express who we are, and even strengthens our social connections. Music has the power to shape our identity in ways that go beyond just being something we listen to for enjoyment. It's a form of self-expression. Think about it. The songs you choose can say a lot about where you're at in life, what you're feeling, and who you're becoming in that moment. So, the next time you hit play, remember, you're not just listening to music. You're telling your story, shaping your identity, and connecting with others in ways that you might not even realize. But here's the real question. Would you want someone to judge you based solely on your playlist? At the end of the day, we're all much more than the music we listen to. So let's celebrate the diversity in our tastes, open our minds to new sounds, and remember that the next time we judge someone's playlist, we're missing the bigger picture. But I think it's a good starting point. Thank you so much for joining me today on The Sound Mind. If you've enjoyed this episode, please rate or review on wherever you're listening, and of course, share it with someone who loves music just as much as you do. Don't forget to follow us and turn on notifications so you never miss an episode. But until next time, keep listening, keep reflecting, and I'll see you here on The Sound Mind.